What's up, Duke fans? Welcome to the Devil's Den podcast. I'm your host, Josh Smith, joined by my co-host, Raul and Shu. Happy St. Patty's Day, everyone. So we're recording this on St. Patrick's Day. Figured we would come back here and do a little bit more of a bracket kind of dive, if you will. We're not going to go matchup by matchup. We're going to do this thing a little bit differently just because I kind of feel like everybody does a million brackets and it kind of just defeats the purpose here. We'll talk about some hypothetical potential matchups that we like. We'll talk about some sleepers. We're going to definitely get into some first round stuff because those are guaranteed matchups. And there's a lot of good games in this one, y'all. I guess I'll start. We'll talk about the Duke Siena game at the end more in depth here. But for those just tuning in, so Duke is the number 1 overall seed in the East. Overall is number 1 in the tournament. They'll open up playing number 16 seed Siena on Thursday at 2:50 on CBS. That will be down in Greenville, South Carolina. Duke opens as 27.5 favorites there. We're pretty bullish on this Duke team, as anyone that's listening to this podcast should know, and should also feel about a 32-2 Duke team here. We're not expecting any hiccups in this first round, so we're going to treat that a little bit that way as well here. Spoiler alert. Fellas, let's jump into this thing. So we all just completed our own bracket. But we'll go region by region and just kind of look at these things here more in depth. I know we talked about the East a little bit on our last podcast, but it was literally right after the selection show. Didn't have much time to kind of digest this thing here much, fellas. So let's kind of get into it a little bit. As y'all can see, for people that are watching here, we got the bracket pulled up. So your top 4 seeds in the East are Duke, UConn, Michigan State, and Kansas, followed by St. John's as your 5 seed, who maybe kind of projected more of like a 3 seed there. So, take that for what it's worth. Fellas, let's just look at this first round, this opening round in this region here. Talk to me about like the best first round matchup. Which one of these games, besides the Duke game, are you kind of most likely to tune into here?
I mean, I think always the 8-9 and the 7-10s are the obvious ones, right? Because those are the ones that the spread's going to be pretty close.
Especially when you're the 1 seed and you got to play the 8 or 9, like you're going to tune into that for sure.
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I'm going to watch the Ohio State TCU game intently, but the UCF UCLA game I'm interested in as well, just because, as we mentioned in the last pod, we played UCF in the exhibition. Johnny Dawkins, obviously, and then UCLA. Like, I don't know, Mick Cronin's. I enjoy some of his post game rants. I don't know if I enjoy them, but it's humorous.
It's good entertainment, right? Yeah, there's value in that for sure. Yeah, no, I hear you.
Doesn't UCLA have some injuries going on right now?
They did, but
and Bilodeau
says that they're ready to go. He said they'll play. Who knows if that's a chronism there, if you will, or if it's legit, right? I treated it as being legit when I did my bracket here. So
I wish I had known that before I filled out my bracket, because
we'll see what it looks like.
I have them losing in the first round, but
that's still not. I mean, UCF has been good this year. I mean, they kind of fell off a little bit, but they've been good. Raul, what's your kind of like anything? You mentioned 3 here, so do you have one?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to pick the UCF UCLA game. I think that's going to be a really good one. Very similar records, similar KenPom teams. Obviously, Ohio State TCU, just because it affects Duke, and we're probably going to do a preview of that game, regardless of who it is. So I want to get a sense, like, to actually watch these teams rather than just look at their KenPom numbers and get a sense of what they do well. Beyond that, I guess Louisville, South Florida could be interesting. Louisville's just a wild card. You never know what you're going to get with them. Last year, didn't they flame out in the first round after being the second best team in the ACC? So we're going to see there.
Beyond that, I don't guilty for that, by the way.
Yeah, that's a thing.
And is Brown playing? Is Brown Jr. playing? Do we know that yet? I don't know if Pat said that he's. So
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't see a lot of upsets other than potentially in those games that I mentioned there. I think Kansas has enough to win at least one game. St. John's is playing really well, so I wouldn't pick them for an upset either. Michigan State, I think, will advance. I actually have them going pretty far. So UConn, I haven't been convinced by them as a 2 seed all year, but I don't see them losing to a 15. So those games that Shu picked, I think really are the most interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned one, and I'm with you that I don't think it's going to happen. And I know absolutely nothing about this team, but California Baptist playing a somewhat suspect Kansas team in San Diego is kind of intriguing to me, right? Like
a slumping Kansas team too.
Yeah, can you catch them right there? I don't know. But I'm intrigued by that matchup for sure as one that's like, I'm interested there. And the other ones, I agree with you. UCLA, UCF would probably be my pick if I was going to choose one, as like UCLA as a team that I think UCF could beat them, or I think UCLA could go to the Elite Eight. So that's a pretty interesting game for me.
And I think as much as we all respect Bill Self's coaching, it's not like he's never had early tournament flameouts before.
I think didn't he lose first round last year, right? Did him in Kentucky? I think Kansas and Kentucky both. Was that last year? Yeah.
The only one that's the one that really comes to mind is what's his name? Farouk Manesh. Do you remember that?
Well, the Northern Iowa.
That was Northern Iowa. Yeah.
But or maybe Kansas did. They won on a kind of a. That might have been 2 years ago. So just forget that.
Kind of blurs
it all blends together. Yeah.
Yeah, but the point remains that they have had some for their status. I mean, Duke gets a lot of flack for their tournament performances. 2022 did little wonders for Bill Self. I'll just say that, right? No shots. I respect the hell out of the guy. He's a good coach, but I think that was big time for him.
He was overdue for a title.
Yeah, in a pretty big way there. Fellas, we've talked about it a little bit, but is there a potential matchup in this region as you get further down the bracket, Sweet 16, Elite 8, that you're just kind of hoping to see, or that would just kind of be big time television? What's on your radar here?
Well, I think obviously everybody's pointed out that the Sweet 16 could be just Hall of Fame coach matchups, the whole way through. And I'm sure that's what everybody's wanting to see. I don't think anybody wants to see Duke, Northern Iowa. Maybe we do.
Or Northern Iowa fans maybe, but other than that.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's hard not to pick Duke, UConn in the Elite 8. Or Duke MSU in the Elite 8 if you prefer, but I think I'd prefer Duke UConn. That kind of excites me just because Hurley's won 2 titles recently, and he's just so obnoxious that it would be nice to knock them out. I think UConn MSU in the Sweet 16 could be a really great game too if that materializes.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones here, man. I'm with you. Like, UCLA, UConn could be big time in the second round right there. Michigan State, UConn would be pretty big time in the Sweet 16. Kansas, St. John's would be pretty big match. I think for me, there's a lot. Duke, UConn is there. It seems so ripe to take that, man. I'm going to go Duke, St. John's. I just think that's just been talked about a lot recently. There's been a lot of buzz for St. John's there. I think St. John's is good. I think Duke's better, and I wouldn't mind that matchup at all. In fact, I might, and I don't want to eat my words here, I might prefer it other than Kansas is weird to me, man. Like, if I'm playing Kansas, I would rather play them first weekend almost on their
you don't want to play it,
right? I don't really like the whole now all these guys are Hall of Fame coaches, but like what Bill Self does on a week off, like he's just willing to get weird, man. He's willing to junk it up. He's willing to change systems for like specific matchups. Like he's got some, like Tommy Lloyd is like that too, a little bit. Like,
and he's already seen us once this year.
He's already seen us, and he's got DP with a whole week of like, I'd rather play them in the Elite Eight.
They definitely have a higher ceiling, right? Because if you insert Peterson and Peterson can give you 30 minutes somehow, that just elevates them in a way that I don't think St. John's can get to.
Right. Whereas the St. John's matchup, I hear that from a lot of people. This Duke team has seen physicality. Like St. John's isn't going to scare them. Like they're not. That's nothing that we've played and beat Michigan. We've played Virginia twice. Like we're not worried about the physicality. Like most do. Like maybe you would be in years past. That's not a concern for me. And I don't think they play well enough offensively to threaten us in that way. So that one's not.
What did the
Kinda
UConn
scary,
game
but I
where they
mean,
went like 17 minutes without scoring a field goal or something?
yeah. And then they beat UConn twice too. So there's
They
just
did.
but I'm not super high on UConn either.
Sure.
Here, folks. But all right, let's keep it moving here, fellas. Is there a sleeper? So we've kind of talked and hinted around it a little bit. Do you see a sleeper, like a traditional sleeper? And I'm not saying that you're going to take them to win the region,
Right.
but someone that's projected not to, a lower seed that's not projected to win a game. Do you see them making a Sweet 16 or really pushing here in the second round?
I mean, without Mikael Brown Jr., and I think it's been a popular pick, but I got South Florida in the 6-11 game over Louisville. I think that might be my really only big upset, I would say, in this bracket.
Yeah.
And our bracket's always chalk, right? Don't we always feel like that, at least?
It seems to be a lot. Yeah, it seems to be a lot.
And I think increasingly in recent years, you're going to see more and more chalk. You did in this last year's tournament. So I don't see any reason why that would change, because this year the top is just as dominant as last year, if not more so. So I didn't go with a lot of underdogs advancing very far. I did have the South Florida pick actually, but if you look at my Sweet 16, it's 1, 5, 3, 2. So the only lower seed I have advancing is St. John's over Kansas, and I don't think people would really regard that as an upset.
Yeah.
But UCF, I did have winning the first game there over UCLA, but I have them losing to UConn. So, it's possible that UConn could get knocked out in the second round. That would be another thing you might be able to go with there.
Let me ask you guys just off the top, do y'all take into account where these game location when you fill out your brackets?
Sometimes. Yeah,
Okay.
sometimes I'm looking at that, especially if I'm thinking, you're looking at UCLA coming to Philly, but then when you get a whole week, you're getting 4 days, like those guys can come over today. They might already be here. I don't know.
Sure
it's, I think open practice is tomorrow. Right. And so it's like, all right, they're probably already here by that point. Maybe not as much. Now, in terms of fan quality that you're going to get in some of those arenas, that could absolutely be there.
Because I'm sure when we get through the bracket, I mean, there's some crazy locations where an underdog is really. I mean, you pointed out Cal Baptist is playing Kansas,
right?
In San Diego, right?
That's interesting. Yeah. There's a few things like that I look into. But again, it can be a crapshoot. I'm with y'all though. I have South Florida as the sleeper in this one. I'm really big on South Florida. I really like Brian Hodgkins as a head coach too. If you look at some of those metrics of ATO stuff, based on out of bounds stuff, when Jon Scheyer was right there. So was Brian Hodgkins. He's right there, man. He's a really good coach. I think they could make a really run. In my bracket, I have Duke playing South Florida in the Elite Eight. So my confidence in the bottom half of our bracket, I mean, I'm looking at Louisville, who's playing, who's not playing. And even if he does, they haven't been that good really this year. They've disappointed. Michigan State is, they're Michigan State. But again, I'm not super impressed with where I think they're susceptible to if Fears has a bad game or if you're able to junk it up and they can't get assists. You've mentioned UConn in there as well, so I think I think there could be a little magic down there. I mean, just absolutely not happening. But
yeah, one thing that's interesting to consider is that let's say we played St. John's in the Sweet 16, they would be traveling out to San Diego and then all the way back to DC. Now I know that there's several day gap in between, but we would have a significant travel rest advantage over them.
Yeah. Yep. That's fair. Yeah, that's a big trip for them. So, yeah. All right, fellas. Let's. Do we want to? I guess. Yeah. Let's do this for each region. So, give me who you got coming out of this region. Does anyone not have Duke coming out of this region? I guess is the bigger question here.
Pending health, I got Duke. I mean, that's something we got to talk about at some point. But
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's the longer it goes until Pat's on the floor, he's off the floor, right?
And so we got word he's playing. There's this hesitancy, and there's rumors out there that he might not play this whole weekend. And then you just start to think, well, man, if he's already sat out 2 weeks, what's going on here, right?
Right. Especially when you consider they're saying Foster had surgery and can play 2 weeks later. Did Pat have surgery? And we don't know. I mean, I'm not speculating. I'm just saying that's.
Yeah, and he's been injured 3 years in a row, right? High school and then first year. And you're a big man with foot problems, man. You hate to you hate to get that label, but 3 years in a row is 3 years in a row. And so there is a little bit of, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
NBA
when you want to
draft
be a
around the
pro,
corner too, you're right there.
that's 82 games. I mean, what are you playing in high school and college? Like
That's
half
it,
of
yeah.
that, right?
Yeah, you got to figure that out. You got to start to figure that out a little bit. So,
I mean, I doubt he's sitting out to preserve any stock or anything, because logically coming back would help that more, because teams are going to have far more questions.
Yeah, I don't think he's
yeah.
protecting stock. Yeah, I think it would be more of like he needs to play to increase the stock, right? To like prove that, like, oh no, this was just precautionary. It was fine. It was like, if this was regular, I would have played.
Because if you remember, I could not tell you possibly what game it was, but there was a game earlier in the year, not the UNC game, but there was a game where he was listed as questionable and had a boot on and then ended up playing.
Yeah, and I mean, he's had both hands taped up for a couple of times too, right? And so some of that stuff is freakish, and you get it. But we need to get Pat back, and I absolutely would prefer
you
not
need him
to be trying to reintegrate two guys in the same week. You know, at least get one and then maybe staggered or something here. But
I mean, starting in the second round, these teams are fully capable of beating us without Pat and without Caleb, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that I would predict that to happen. I think we could win that second round game, but once you get to the Sweet 16, it gets real dicey. I mean, you remember we beat Kansas by what? Like, I think we did beat them by double digits, but 12, it was a close game for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was right there. They were right there with us, and that was without Darren Peterson. You know, that was early in the year, but still, I mean,
and we've improved, of course, but how much have we improved when you take out two of our starters?
Right. What does that look like? Yeah. So, all right. So pending health, I think we're on agreement. Pending health, we'll take Duke Kim to Indy here. Let's go to what's next, fellas. Is it the South? I believe
let's go to the South.
Mine. We'll go right down the line here. So similar to the East, I'll kind of read this off. Florida is your last number 1 seed, followed by they got Houston in their region. They get Illinois in that region, Nebraska, and then I guess I'll do the same. They get Vanderbilt coming in as the top 5 seeds there. Fellows, we'll do this kind of like how we did the last one here. So looking at this first round, kind of what intrigued you the most?
I mean, for me, right off, it's probably just because it's Illinois', at once top offense against the Fighting Powers. TJ Power, fresh off his 44 and 14, with like 14 rebounds. Hey, okay.
That's power.
So that game, not so much looking at the Clemson Iowa game anymore, because Clemson, I'm guessing, still going to be without their starter that lost in the ACC tournament. Which it's that time of year, guys are banged up. It's you got to do what you got to do to get out here. I guess maybe Nebraska, Troy, just because Nebraska's never won a
I think that's a tournament right game. There. There's gonna be some real pressure on those. McNeese Vanderbilt's another one, man, that like they could push. They could push.
Yeah. Vanderbilt and Nebraska are both interesting because they both started out the year incredibly hot, and then kind of cooled off a little bit as it went on. But I could see them kind of rallying and making a run there. Vanderbilt obviously played very well in the SEC tournament.
Yeah, Florida. Arkansas with them, Big Florida. Yeah, Big Florida first.
Yeah. But they hung with Arkansas for.
Yeah, they were right there. Yeah. I mean, and one we haven't mentioned obviously is North Carolina VCU.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to pick that. But yeah,
that's a big matchup right there. Not saying that just because we're Duke fans, but I mean, that could. I'm interested in that one. I think VCU could push them, so obviously I'd like to see that. But then two, if Carolina gets past them, things open up maybe a little bit for them depending on what happens. I mean, you play Illinois, who I'm pretty high on Illinois. I got them in the Sweet 16, but sometimes offenses get cold and you never know what happens. So,
I mean, it's going to be
they're going to be as the other ones, though. I don't think the first round in this region is as good as the other regions. But go ahead.
They're going to be in Greenville as well, right? So, but VCU fans are going to show up. When we lost to VCU, Eric Maynard's team, was that the 6-11 game as well? Were we 6?
Yes, yeah. Then we go to 6. Yeah. Lost on a buzzer beater.
I mean, I think 6-11s are like
They're
50,
close, man. Those are
they're
close
50-50
toss-up type
toss-ups
games. Yeah, they're
most
right
times,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, they're right there.
5-12 is the most common upset I've always heard, but
Mhm.
6-11 in theory should be even closer.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of sucks for Illinois. It's like you now potentially have to play North Carolina in Greenville, despite being 3 seed lines higher. You know, that's pretty weak there.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the obvious picks for me. I don't know enough about St. Mary's and Texas A&M to, say
I'm
anything.
not.
I picked Texas A&M simply because they're in the tougher conference, but that was my only rationale there.
Yeah, I actually went just St. Mary's just because I thought their metrics looked a little bit better. But there's just like, I think that one's not too much interest in that game, to be honest with you.
I thought Raul was just a Buzz fan. That's why he took Texas A&M.
Buzz Williams. Yeah. I love that guy, right? All right, let's do some potential matchups because I think this is much more interesting because this first little round here in this region particularly just doesn't interest me as much as some of the other ones do. But there's some really big time potential matchups here, fellas. So kind of what are you looking at down the seed lines here as you get later into this thing? As you maybe get to Houston or so, what are you most excited for?
Well, I'll save the Elite Eight one for one of you guys. I'm sure he'll take that. But just Houston, Illinois, that's like top offense, top defense kind of game.
Yep.
Now it would be in Houston, so tough draw for Illinois to have to go through maybe Carolina and Houston, but it'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah. Illinois Houston would be I have that as my Sweet 16 matchup too. Yeah, that'd be a big one.
Sometimes when I go through my bracket, I just pick things that I think would be fun. If I don't know any better, right? So that's why I picked Texas A&M because then they'd have to play Houston. And I thought, okay, 2 Texas schools, that's kind of fun. And then the other things that are kind of jumping out to me, I think Vanderbilt, Nebraska could be a hell of a game.
Yeah.
They both have really good guard play. And then beyond that, Florida Vanderbilt rematch, I think I have penciled in there. So that would be a fun one as well.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, Florida. I have Florida and Vandy Sweet 16 rematch. I think that could be big time too, just because maybe some animosities in there. Maybe they thought they let one slip away, or can Vanderbilt go do it again? And that's a big time upset, right? As this thing has been really chalky last year. I don't think it's going to be quite the same level of chalk this year in terms of like it's really hard to get 4 1 seeds there. It's only happened twice. But I do still think the chalk is going to be pretty dominant. So where it could potentially happen, I think that could be one of them. You mentioned that. So I'll go, I think a great potential matchup in this region is just a rematch of the national championship game. You got Florida, Houston there in the Elite Eight. It's in Houston, and so that gives you a little bit of buzz there as well. And I think that for me, I jump ahead a little bit, but we just mentioned it. Florida, Houston was my pick to go there. I got Houston winning the matchup, going back to the Final Four to face Duke there in the rematch. So,
got a question for you guys too here. Just looking at, I know it's the play-in game. I guess that's for tomorrow night. Lehigh Prairie View. Would you guys rather had Lehigh than Siena as our 16?
Sure, just because I don't think we're losing to a 16.
Yeah,
so it's like, if you want it, come get it.
Yeah,
if you want to come get it.
That
would have been cool to just like 40-piece you, 30-piece you, and just be like, hey,
you don't got CJ and this isn't that.
Here's some non-HD film footage from 2012 if you'd like to relive that. Here you go. Bro.
Yeah, that Lehigh team was very underseeded. I can't remember exactly where they were in the metrics, but they're probably 100 spots higher than this Lehigh team is, and so nothing comparable at all. And that Duke team was just. They were a 2 seed, and they earned that 2 seed by winning a lot of games, but they were a really weak 2 seed. I remember even going into that tournament, I was like, I don't have a lot of hope for this Duke team here.
Yeah, K willed that team to a 2 seed pretty much, right?
We had a lot of come from behind victories.
Yeah, on the road, they went undefeated on the road, which was kind of crazy for that year.
There's obviously the UNC come from behind game. That was crazy. There was a big one against NC State, if you remember, too, in Cameron, down double digits at halftime, came back.
Yeah, down 20. Yeah. All right, fellas, I know we've kind of gotten into. I've already kind of gotten mine a little bit here, but is there a sleeper in this region? For this was kind of hard for me to find a sleeper. I mean, I did pick VCU to beat North Carolina, but then I picked Illinois to beat them. So I don't know if you qualify that a sleeper. I picked Florida to beat Vanderbilt, but if you told me you had Vanderbilt going to I really thought about, like, do I put them in the Elite Eight? And if I put them there, do I put them in Indy? That'd be kind of crazy, but maybe Vanderbilt could be a sleeper, even though I didn't pick it. I mean, that could potentially get there. Do y'all have something that's?
I mean, I think you're on it because Nebraska having never won one of these, right? Like, do you trust them to win 4?
No, I don't really trust them to win 1. I'm thinking they do win 1, but that's.
I think they get 1, but that's about it, right? But Vanderbilt, to your point, I mean, earlier in the year, I kept waiting on them to fall off, and they hung with it for a good while.
Yeah.
We got a lot of former Tar Heels over there too. That's the only one I see out of the.
They could really make a.
That's not in the 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, it would be between Vanderbilt, Nebraska, or you guys would hate to hear it, but North Carolina. I know they looked terrible in the ACC tournament, but Vasar is just such a good player, man.
Sure. I could see them getting to the Sweet 16 easily as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to beat both Houston and Florida,
but
so unless they get super lucky,
really blow up, that'd be something else.
But they could certainly beat Illinois.
They're playing Prairie View to go to the Final Four.
Yeah. There we go.
The Duke UNC rematch.
Yeah. All right, fellas. Well, I think I spoiled mine a little bit. I said I'm taking Houston to come out of this region. Same. Give me your so Shu, you got Houston as well.
Houston's playing in Houston. I'm not taking against them.
Florida. I mean, Raul, I know Florida has been your kind of darling here. You're rolling with them.
I'm going with Florida. Despite what I saw in the SEC tournament there, I just think they've been playing so well for so many months here that I kind of am leaning into that.
Plus, they're going for a repeat. He knows how to win in this tournament, and he's a good coach.
Got a great front court as well, obviously. The guard plays a little suspect. It has been better in previous months, though, than it was when we played them.
Yeah. That's what it came down to me, was just Fleming's winning that guard matchup in the game. And so I was like,
he could really cook there. I mean,
I think
good as Florida is defensively, their backcourt is not amazing defensively, and
Houston's willing to just take those mid-range. So if you're just going to sit and drop, Fleming's is going to cook you right there. Like, that's what he's going to want to do. So I could see that it could be a big time game though. Florida Houston would be big time Elite Eight matchup there. Yeah. All right, fellas, let's keep it moving here for sake of time. Let's get into the West. I think is what I have next on my list here.
Top right corner.
Yep, we'll get that one pulled up. All right, here we go. Let's run through these very briefly. So I got Arizona as the second 1 seed. Coming into the West, followed by Purdue, kind of sneaking up here on the 2 line a little bit. If you call that sneaking, I don't know. And then who else? They got Gonzaga as the 3, which is kind of going under the radar. And then, in my opinion, with the best 4-5 combo in Arkansas and Wisconsin, sitting there waiting on you. So, fellas, we'll do this one more time here. What you looking at in this first round? I mean, there's tons of choices. High Point's 30-4. So, like, do you buy into that a little bit? BYU's down a guy. Do you buy into can NC State do it? Can Texas do it? I don't know. Where are you going here?
Queens? Yeah, I mean, normally I wait. Don't shout out to Queens. Hey,
shout out to Queens. Yeah.
Normally I wait till Thursday morning to officially fill this out because I do want to know some of these 6-11s. I mean, I think if Texas gets past NC State, which I anticipate they do, I could see them beating BYU. I could actually see them moving on, a good ways.
Texas
got this good coach, obviously hasn't been to a Final Four, but I'm not thinking they're getting to a Final Four, but getting to a Sweet 16, possibly an Elite Eight.
Happen.
I could see that.
Yeah. It's not bad.
They've got the size and physicality that could potentially help them in the tournament. I don't really like NC State right now either. I mean, Texas and NC State are both cold, though they both lost a ton of games towards the end of the year here. So they're sort of in the same boat. The metrics prefer NC State, but Yeah, we went on the road and beat them by 30. They did not look good.
And they barely prefer them too, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a close, it's close.
Right. And I mean, we saw up close Texas's size and physicality, and what Duke's size and physicality did to NC State. I don't see why Texas's couldn't do the same thing there. So I do have BYU beating the winner of that. I just wanted to at least give them a game because I just think that, the talent level there of DeBonsa is enough that they can get that done, and their coach is pretty good and stuff. So this is probably my favorite region, though, like non-Duke region, just as an objective viewer.
Mm-hmm.
I think just because I think very highly of Arkansas and Wisconsin. So to me, that would be the matchup for me. That I'm one of the matchups I'm most excited about in the tournament.
Arkansas, Wisconsin. Yeah.
Well, I'm intrigued by this Miami, Missouri game. That's Jay Lucas coaching his first NCAA tournament game
versus Mark Mitchell.
Who gets to play in St. Louis as a 10 seed. It's like, all right, if you're Jay, you're not super thrilled about that, I'm sure. Yeah,
or if you're Purdue and you potentially have to play Missouri
and St. Louis.
And St. Louis.
Yeah. And knowing Purdue's tournament history too, right? And so there's I like that a lot. There's some really good potential matchups in this one for me, man. Like Miami, Purdue is Wisconsin, Arkansas, I think is the best early one. Arizona, Wisconsin would be a great game to me. I think the one I'm going to go with, though, just because it's going to be out west and no one's talking about these guys, and they really haven't talked about them in several years here. Give me Arizona Gonzaga in the West Regional out there for what could just set up to be a hell of a game. Like, I think Gonzaga could potentially come in there and maybe Fuse had success in this tournament. He hasn't won one, but he's been there. He's gotten there before, so it's not like he's bounced early. I don't know. I haven't really watched a ton of Gonzaga this year, to be honest with you, but why not? It's a bracket, right? So I don't know, man. Something about that Arizona Gonzaga kind of intrigues me a little bit. I'm just still not sold on Purdue. I know they had a hell of a Big Ten tournament, but
I think I'm the same. I think I'm the same on Purdue and Gonzaga. I think the one game I did watch, they got 40 piece by Michigan.
Yeah, that was but they're in Portland here, right? And so BYU's down a guy, and we're not super high on State and Texas.
Right.
It just kind of like I just shoot them into the Sweet 16, and by the time they got there, I was like, okay, if I got Miami over Purdue, or even if Purdue meets Miami, I still think Gonzaga could handle.
I think this is the region that I threw in. For one, Missouri playing in St. Louis. I just took Missouri to go through that.
That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. How did they get that to happen? Again, this is kind of like the UNC situation, right?
That's what we talked about, sleepers. So I mean, we didn't. I mean, how far you got Missouri going here? You taking them to Sweet 16 land?
I mean, I got them beating Purdue, and then actually I did. I had them over Gonzaga as well.
Okay, so you got them in the Elite Eight.
I got them. I'm pretty sure I had them in the Elite Eight. Yep.
All right, yeah, that's big time, man. That's shout out to Mark Mitchell if that happens, right? That's a hell of a sleeper right there. If Missouri comes out of this thing and finds himself playing Arizona, which would be a massive Mark Mitchell dub if he were to come in there and beat Arizona after Tommy Lloyd in Arizona completely exposed his entire sophomore year, 2 games into the season.
Hey, he'd be beating his. He'd be beating his old coach in the first round too, with Jay Lucas.
Yeah,
he played for a couple of years under Jay Lucas.
Yeah, that's right. So, I like that one. I like that one as well. All right, fellas, let's do this one here. So we've talked about it a little bit. I mean, I love this region, but I still, in the same way that I'm rolling with Duke to come through theirs, I'm rolling with Arizona and Lloyd to still kind of to keep this train rolling here and to emerge out of the West. Who y'all got?
Oh, I got real nuts. I don't know if you want to go first, Shu, but
I mean, I took Arizona as well. I mean, they've been right there with us all year. Two losses, I think, was on the road at Kansas. Was that one of them? And then
they lost at home to Texas Tech.
And home to Texas Tech. Yep.
So I mean, that's the logical pick for sure. But I went with Arkansas playing Miami in the Elite Eight. And Arkansas knocking them off. And the reason I'm so high on Arkansas is because Acuff has been out of his mind for the last 15 games. I don't know if you've seen the stats there.
Yeah,
averaging 27 points per game, 49-47 splits. This is like one of the best guard seasons we've seen since like the 15 games of Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
Just absurd.
I think he was named first team All-American, right? He just got named first team All-American.
There's just
three freshmen on that team as well. So
something about me not trusting Cal a ton, and
I mean,
really liking what guard and Wisconsin runs too, man. And so that Wisconsin Arkansas, I hope they want to.
I can make the opposite argument for Cal though. Like, yes, he's had a few flameouts, but he's also had these times when he went way farther than expected, especially when he had a guard emerge late in the year, right?
Yeah, a point guard. On ball guard. Yeah. Like, you give him the Derrick Rose, you give him the John Walls, you give him the insert whoever. Right?
Yeah, I mean, to me, this was the hardest one to pick because even though, and I just did say great things about Arizona, I mean, I don't think Tommy Lloyd's been past the Sweet 16 as a head coach. So, sometimes.
And I got him going, but I got him playing Wisconsin. If Arkansas beats Wisconsin, I really like that Arkansas over Arizona. Because that's just a tough matchup for them. Wisconsin, just in my opinion, I think they could end up running some just beautiful stuff and just bomb you from three, and then Acuff can have 35, but maybe it's 91-88 like Wisconsin likes to do, and they just win. But if not, I love the Arkansas to the Final Four pick. That's a big time one right there. All right, fellas, let's do the Midwest here, and then we'll take a quick break and kind of dive a little bit deeper into Duke specifically. This was another interesting one to me, mainly because of Michigan's. I mean, it's hard to say that they're 31-3 and they've had some slippage, but I feel like they've had some slippage, y'all, and they've had some injury stuff too. Their dominance in the analytics has also gotten them to where they were on a path to be, right up there with like sub 99 Duke. Like, I don't think they were going to get that quite 99 Duke level, but they were going to touch it. They were going to touch 40. That's came back to earth here a little bit. So you got in the Midwest, you still got Michigan as the 1 seed. You got Iowa State as their 2. Going down, you got Virginia, who we're pretty familiar with at this point. And then you have an Alabama and a Texas Tech, which could potentially be a nice 4-5. But after some recent news, and Texas Tech has really suffered here in the last couple of games, y'all. I don't really know what to make of that one right there. But looking at this, talk to me a little bit about your first round matchup here. I mean, SMU, Miami, Ohio is just it's on there just because of what Miami, Ohio could potentially be or not be, or all of the fraudulent stuff there. So let's leave that one off because I think that might be a little bit too easy. Give me something else though in this bracket that you're just most excited to watch on the first round.
Well, I think to me it's another 8-9 game. Georgia, high flying guys. I think they might lead the nation in dunks. And then St. Louis has got our boy Milt Chamberlain. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's
Larry
Nerd. Yep.
Just throwing out nicknames here.
That's going to be a fun matchup, I think. On that, that should probably be. Are those Thursday or those are Thursday games, right? Yep, that one is.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Thursday. That's a good one. What about you, Raul? You got anything different?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's some interesting stuff here, but first round wise, not a ton. Maybe I think I picked Santa Clara over Kentucky. Kentucky has been so wishy-washy all year. Looking at that, I don't think Hofstra has enough to beat Alabama, but the potential loss of Holloway here for Alabama on his drug charges is huge. This guy is really,
by the way,
really good.
What are you doing, dude? Like, you got NIL money, like, you're still trying to get a plug
and
now?
not just a little bit, right?
What is
like
that?
2.1 pounds.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
All right, bro.
That's not personal.
I was gonna ride for you if you just got a bag or something. It's like,
but that's not personal, bro. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You gotta, have someone else, man. Whatever.
I don't know about Otis' culture down there with all the stuff that's happened over the last couple of years, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Holloway's 131 offensive rating, 44% from 3 on high volume. He's their best player. Like, I mean, they've got a lot of good players. Don't get me wrong, but
that's a big one.
But they haven't announced that he's not playing, though, right?
No, I mean, I'm sure they're going to try to get this figured out or whatever. But I think you're right.
I don't see how it's going to happen. At least not by the first game.
Yeah,
that's too soon.
the Tampa bracket is the one for me. I took Akron over Texas Tech, and I got a lot of respect for Tech, but it's just, they're 29-5. I think, Texas Tech is floundering a little bit. Hofstra over Alabama, I think also. So that one could get, and maybe you just see Alabama play Texas Tech, and it just works that way because that's how these things tend to go. But I think that Tampa right there, those two games are big time. That's what I would be watching for.
I'll piggyback off of what Raul said earlier because I do like Santa Clara, and I know Raul's a big Herb Sendek fan, so that's why he picked that matchup there. But again going back to the play-in game. Look, Miami of Ohio, they've had a great season. Undefeated, other than they lost one game in their conference championship, right? Or maybe not the championship game, but in their tournament. Either way, SMU, man, they're getting BJ Edwards back and Boopy Miller. Like we've talked about it before, guards in March, and Boopy's. I kind of have a feeling SMU is going to they're my sleeper. Yeah, they're my sleeper pick there.
Okay, yeah, very nice. Okay,
that's going to be the best play-in game by far to me.
Yeah.
Miami, Ohio executes really well, especially late game. I could easily see them beating SMU, but SMU definitely has the offense to overcome their really kind of
Miami
solid
just hasn't played at the schedule.
Yeah,
so that's the thing.
It could just be a rude awakening.
Have you seen this level of guard? Have you seen this level?
Yeah.
SMU hasn't played great away from SMU too, so there's some intrigue there for sure.
I mean, it is going to be in Dayton. I mean, it's going to be in Miami, Ohio's backyard.
Yeah, so you're right there. So okay, you got SMU as your sleeper. Well, hold on. First, let's go into what's some best potential matchups, I guess, down the road here. Like as you get to the second weekend or so, what are you kind of most intrigued, or what stands out to you in this region?
I mean, I think I took Akron over Texas Tech as well, but it wouldn't surprise me if Texas Tech made a run still. I got a lot of respect.
They've been really resilient.
But their coach is a good coach. I thought he coached his ass off against us, obviously, in that second half.
Yeah, beat us.
I've coached us, if we're being flat out honest about it. So, I mean, I don't know, Raul. Do you have any? I don't trust Rick Barnes. Never have in this tournament.
Well, funnily enough, I'm actually taking Tennessee over Virginia, so I do have Tennessee going to the Sweet 16.
Okay.
There's just something that's been a little. I mean, I know Virginia just played us really tough, but there's just something that's been a little shaky about their whole resume to me all year. And I mean, maybe it's just that lingering taste of that 26-point beat down in Cameron, but. Virginia's big, don't get me wrong, but so is Tennessee. So I'm intrigued by that game, if that happens either way, but I do have Tennessee winning that one. So I guess that would be my sleeper.
Okay. All right. So you got Tennessee.
I mean, I don't have to pass the Sweet 16. So it's not like they're going on a miracle run or anything, but
yeah, I don't really have a sleeper so much. I mean, I guess if you wanted to say my sleeper would be Virginia, if that's technically going to be a sleeper. I got Virginia coming out of this region, spoiler alert. So I'm taking Virginia to the Final Four. My best potential matchup, I mean, I have them beating Michigan, but I think the Virginia-Iowa State game could be absolutely incredible. In Chicago too. I'm just buying into, hopefully, I like Odom as a coach. I think he does well at making adjustments, and I'm kind of taking that and looking at how they played Duke, and it's like, hey, this kid was already elite, but if you somehow like unlocked like a Anthony Davis level kind of guy and the like defensively for a run here, I think it just elevates their floor at a level of like all of the stuff that like some of these teams, like how they're going to try to play. If this kid's erasing 20% at the rim, that could get him there, man. That could get him there. And I think it has the size and the style to also play with Michigan, who's kind of maybe not quite the Michigan that they were a month or two ago or a month and a half ago, right? And so, I'm going to.
Yeah, I mean, I like your point. I like your point there. I guess that I took Iowa State over if they're playing Virginia, I think Iowa State can shoot from outside, which would obviously negate Onye's.
A lot of that.
Yeah, right. So,
A lot of that.
but I mean, I think that's going to be if that's the way it breaks down.
If you're really having a bomb out there and you're just slightly off and they're just cleaning up everything else, it's
I think that'll impact. I mean, a lot of the top there. I don't know who I would take in Michigan versus Virginia as opposed to Michigan and Iowa State.
And Iowa State's a really good defense too, by the way. So it's like. Yeah. If they match up with Virginia, or even if they match up with Tennessee, there could be a defensive battle there.
Yeah. I was just impressed with what Virginia did in the ACC tournament too, man. I thought that was just pretty legit. Yep. They played us really well. And maybe I'm putting too much stock into that a little bit, but I mean, hey, this region here, I think
they're a top 10 team, right?
I think this region is ripe for
that rim protection is legitimate.
I value that a ton, man. And that they have another big guy too. So even if he gets in foul trouble, you lose a lot with him off, but you're still able to play the same kind of style and what you want to do.
You go from like the number 1 shot blocker in the country to the number 8 shot blocker or something.
Yeah. And so, if you're getting enough from DeRitter and from some of those other guys, then what? I like them to make a run.
I know we already stopped talking about sleepers, but if only St. Louis wasn't the 9 seed here and didn't have to play Michigan in the second game,
I still don't think that's not a terrible pick, man. I think they're acceptable, man. I do. I don't know. If
have you looked at some of their defensive metrics?
Yes,
they're number 2. So they're number 2 in effective field goal percentage on offense and number 2 in effective field goal percentage on defense.
Yep.
This all makes me wonder how they're not more highly rated on KenPom. Number 2 3-point percentage is another thing, 40.5%. That's ridiculous. Number 8 3-point defense. Number 1 in average 2-point distance on offense. So they're just taking shots at the rim or threes.
Yeah, there's
a lot to like there.
They're good, man. I mean, they're really good. I mean, and you mentioned, Cream over there. This kid's shooting 41% on 143 3-point attempts, dude. Like, that's 20 more than Cam Boozer on the same percentage. Like that, he'll let him fly out there. That's a recipe, man, of like, hey, if Mara's going to be matched up on you down here, and he's just like, yo, I'm going to go 5 for 7 out here, though. Come holler, and it's like, ooh. Okay, that could get interesting there, man. I like that pick a lot, actually, as a potential really lookout. Yeah, if they get past Georgia, it gets interesting. It gets interesting for sure. All right, well, I said I got Virginia. Did you say who'd you got? Yeah, Iowa State. Iowa State. And Raul, who you rolling with?
And you mean just to come out of the region? Period.
Yeah, just to come out of the region. Yeah,
I think I still got to go with Michigan. I'm trying to not let recency play too much in there.
Okay.
So, but I've got Michigan and Iowa State matched up there in the so it's pretty chalky there for the Elite 8. And I really went back and forth between the two teams.
Yeah,
I didn't know who to pick. Yeah, so I mean, I kind of was like leaning Iowa State for a little while, and then I just went with Michigan.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like it. All right, fellas, we'll come back. We haven't picked a champion yet, so let's take a break here. Let's pay a few bills, hit the head, whatever you got to do, fellas, and then we'll come back and we'll do a Final Four picks, and then we'll look a little bit more into Duke's specific matchup against Siena here. All right, well, we'll come back here. Obviously, in the ad break here, I got a chance to check down, so I want to go ahead and shout this out. So, shouts to Kenny Blakeney as we're recording this. Howard beats UMBC to start us off in this tournament. Texas is up 12-5 over NC State currently, y'all. So, a little bit of real time stuff here. We'll continue to kind of track that a little bit, but. Fellas, let's jump back. Recall who you picked out of your regions here. Let's look at our Final Four picks. So for me, let me pull mine up. I have Duke coming out of the East, Houston coming out of the South. That sets up a Duke-Houston rematch in the Final Four from last year. I have Arizona coming out of the West, and I got Virginia coming out of the Midwest there. Looking at mine, I have Duke over Houston, Arizona over Virginia here, and no spoiler alert. I put the money down in September, fellas. I'm sticking with it. I got Duke taking this. Duke over Arizona in Indianapolis to give Jon his first and Duke its sixth. What you got, fellas?
I got the same as you, except for I have Iowa State instead of Virginia. So what's that? 1-2-1-2. Yeah, 1-2-1-2. Duke Houston rematch in the semis for Jon to right the wrongs there. And then Duke playing Arizona, a 2001 title game rematch.
Yeah. Big time.
The Boozer circle comes full circle.
Yeah, I like it. I did the same. I was the same. I was thinking the same storyline.
Get Caleb back, just broken foot. It's not one of the Boozers, but broken foot to the team. Get them back for the
the only thing that's hanging is I want to say 2001 was in Minneapolis, but it was still Duke, Arizona. But I think was it Minneapolis or it was Minneapolis, wasn't it?
I think it was
Minneapolis.
Yeah,
okay, so it's almost like full sync there. But Jon won in Indy in year 4. Carlos beat Arizona.
I was just going to say we're doubling down on foot injuries this time around.
Oh yeah, going all the way in. Carlos, Pat, Caleb, get all the way into the foot injuries here.
Lower extremities.
Yeah. Okay, so we're pretty chalky over here. We both got Duke, Arizona. I guess this is going to be a little bit interesting because Raul doesn't have Arizona in his Final Four, so we can't go 3 for 3. What you got for us, Raul? I think you had Duke, Florida, Michigan, and Arkansas in your Final Four.
That is correct. And I've got Duke beating Florida, and I've got Michigan beating Arkansas, and I've got a Duke Michigan rematch. So notice all 4 teams are teams. The 3 other teams are teams that Duke has already played this year and beaten. And then they would play Michigan in the championship game. So you got another rematch there in Indy. That's going to be pretty tough because Michigan's obviously not too far from there. I think they'd have a little bit of an advantage. But I've got Duke beating Michigan, and as a bonus, my final score is 72-68. So 140 total points scored.
Okay.
Well, I did that for the tiebreaker.
You did the whole thing. Yeah.
I want to win some money.
Yeah.
Hey,
I don't think I can because I'm picking 2 1 seeds. Probably you have to get a little crazier, but
yeah.
This just occurred to me. Smitty and I took the Arizona full circle, but I do like Raul's sneaky Arkansas pick, and I guess there's a world where I could see Duke, Florida, Arizona, Arkansas. I don't know if you guys realize, but that's the 1994 Charlotte Final Four field.
Oh yeah, but see, Arizona will play Arkansas in the Sweet 16 though. That's the only thing is they couldn't get there, so they would have to.
I was thinking they were different ones. Arizona and Arkansas.
But the Duke Florida thing, and if Arkansas is there, or even Michigan, I mean that's the 92 rematch there. Duke Michigan has a lot of history. That could be a big one. That could be a big one as well. So either way, it sounds like we got a pretty big kind of time Final Four for all of us here. I'm ready, man. I'm ready to get into this thing. I'm ready to get this thing going. Let's talk a little bit and we'll get out of here just because, I mentioned off the top, this is a 27.5 point favorite for Duke here. We're not expecting anything. We can't pick them to go win a national championship and think that we're going to struggle in the first round. Now, we'll come back after this because I don't want to get into I think the threat level or the interest or like the matchup looks much different if we play Ohio State versus if we play TCU. So we'll wait a little bit in terms of that here. Phil, I don't know how much you want to get into this. I mean, Duke is predicted to beat this thing. I mentioned 27.5. KenPom has an 81-55. I'm looking at Siena, and again, I haven't watched Siena, but I'm looking at some of their metrics. I'm going through some of their stuff, and it's like, okay, they don't shoot the 3 well at all. So I'm not concerned about just kind of getting bombed. They don't have size. They do have good 2-point defense. I mean, to be playing a 16 seed that's a top 50 in the country in 2-point defense is like, okay, that's something. It's not nothing at least, but fellas, I don't know. What
I guess what jumped out to me when I started digging in, I didn't realize that's coached by Jerry McNamara.
That's the most interesting thing about him, probably. Yeah.
But looking through their KenPom sheet, I mean, they only played one top 100 KenPom team all season.
Yeah,
one. That was Indiana. That was 81-60. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't see Duke struggling, even Pat doesn't suit up. I mean, you think about, we just went through the ACC, and I know Florida State didn't make the field, but they felt like a tournament caliber team, right? Sure. And then Clemson's a 8 seed, 9 seed, 8 seed.
Mm-hmm.
And then Virginia's a 3 seed. You just beat those two teams down 2 starters. So I don't see a real struggle with this. I think you got to handle this. It's going to be in Greenville. This team's a little bit different. Now we can get into, like you said, a little bit later, whether Ohio State or TCU, because one of those could pose a problem to us, right? Especially without Big Pat.
Yeah, well, let's be real with that, right? Like I don't know if either of us are going to predict OSU or TCU to beat this Duke team with or without Pat. But without Pat, it absolutely becomes more of a, like, I'm concerned. I'm nervous a little bit, right? Like, yeah, Raul's going to figure out his idea. We'll keep going here. I'm nervous a little bit about, like, and it's not so much of nerves even in that game. Like, I'm not going to go watch this Duke team do what they did in Charlotte and think that they can't beat Ohio State or TCU with the team that we put together on the floor in Charlotte. I think they absolutely could, and I think they would. But I get much more concerned about the longevity of the path here, because that puts a lot of pressure and stress, and, like, you got to put a lot of stuff together in 4 days to then go play a St. John's or a Kansas in the Sweet 16. And that's what would make me a bit – I would like for Pat to touch the floor as a starter in the tournament in Greenville, man. And I'm still kind of – I know there's been some smoke, but I'm still pretty bullish that he will play. Maybe it's not Thursday, which I originally was thinking that, like, there's no shot he's missing Thursday. If he doesn't play Saturday, I'm getting a little, like,
you're hitting the panic button if he doesn't play
not
Saturday.
Panic, man, but I'm just like, I'm not going to DEFCON 5, but I'm hitting the first 2 switches and just kind of sitting here like, come on, man, like, don't do this. Don't be sitting here at 34-2 trying to reintegrate 2 guys and get beaten in the Sweet 16. Like, don't do that.
I think that's the toughest thing, right? Like, this season has been way beyond. I mean, if we talked about, only losing 2 games prior to this season tipping off, we would all sign up for that, right? Especially
100%.
With that schedule. So to have the season, making a Final Four is tough. It always is, right?
For sure.
But, you want to see them at least get to that second weekend. And really the second game of the second weekend. I want to be playing into next Saturday or Sunday, right?
When you're 5 points higher than the lowest 1 seed in this tournament, we got to get there, right? You might not win. It's tough. And maybe something can happen to you in the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. I get it. It can absolutely happen. But it would be disappointing, and my nerve level would be pretty damn high if Pat doesn't play in Greenville. I do think he will play. I just think he will. If he doesn't play Thursday, I would prefer him to play Thursday, at least a little bit. If he doesn't play Saturday, though, I start to get a little nervous. And again, it's not that I would pick TCU or Ohio State to beat us without Pat. I just don't know if I could pick us to come out of DC if I haven't seen Pat. Like that.
Because most likely when you get to DC, you're playing
either Kansas or St. John's. Almost, maybe it's almost one of those guaranteed. Followed by what could be UConn, UCLA, Michigan State, maybe South Florida, like I said. But it's that Sweet 16 game becomes a big time question, right? And then you get past that, I think I'm picking us to win the whole thing. But it's that one for me.
So I had to switch over my setup here midstream. There's something faulty going on there.
I just thought you were keeping yourself from ranting about the injuries that we
exactly
had at this worst possible time. But
this is why you should always do a trial run of a new piece of equipment before you just try to roll with it. But anyway, so I'm going to sound completely different now from the beginning of the podcast, but we'll deal with that. I wanted to come back to Siena a little bit because there are some interesting things that I don't know if you guys mentioned. So they have no depth right now because Tasman Goodrick and Antonio Chandler are both just done for the season. One of them was injured, I believe, and the other's ineligible. So they're really kind of rolling like 7 deep max. Now, the interesting thing that's happened is they used to play with like no size, but Riley Mulvey, who's 7 foot, has recently been promoted to playing like 35 minutes or 40 minutes out of nowhere. He was barely playing before. He still averages 17 minutes on the year, but now he's like playing the full game. So they do have a little bit more size than they used to, but they have 2 5'10" guards or 5'11". So they're still very small overall. Their best player is a 6'5" guy who seems to play a little bit more almost like attacking the rim. Like he's an okay 3-point shooter. But if you look at like where he's really getting his efficiency is on free throws. So I think just even for a 16 seed, I do think this is a pretty favorable matchup for Duke, just size-wise.
Yeah.
I think we should be fine. This is a game where you're not like looking at them and being like, oh, they're gigantic for a 16, and I wish we had Pat. But so this one will be fine. Then it gets a little dicey, and you're like you guys were saying when I finally came back here, as much as I was able to follow, like it really would be pretty damn disappointing if injuries stopped us from kind of fulfilling our potential that we showed all year.
Yeah. That
you really just need Pat back, and you need him at like at least like 85% by the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
And then 100% by the Final Four.
Yeah. That's it. And it's, I almost don't even want to root for TCU. Yep. Because then it's like, then we would just get beat by TCU or something stupid.
Right. And they have some real size too. So
I'm looking at it. Yeah, I'm looking at it, and it's like, okay, I do think TCU would be by far the better matchup for Duke. But I almost don't even want to root for it because it's like, you do that, and then you put yourself into some, situation where.
Well, I think with Ohio State, it goes one of two ways. Like, Bruce Thornton is Ohio State's all-time leading scorer. He's never played in an NCAA tournament game, which is kind of crazy to think for a program. Like, I know Ohio State isn't a blue blood, but they're a historical program.
And they've been hot, right? They've been hot.
Right. So, but it either, it makes him nervous that he's never played in one of these, or, hey, I'm a senior, I'm the all-time leading scorer, and he just Kemba Walker's him through, a couple rounds.
Could do that. Yeah, he could do that. So. I mean, he's really good. Like 137 offensive rating. On decent usage, 40% 3-point shooter. Somehow shoots 65% from 2 as a 6'2" guy, which is incredible to me. So yeah, I mean, he's really the only guy on that team you have to worry about, I would say, like overall. But they don't have a lot of, great front court players. They do have a 7-footer, but apparently he's not the best.
Yeah, my guy told me he's a little soft.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, and neither one of those teams have like TCU is deceptive because they're like really, really low in terms of like dead last in terms of like average height, but they also play like 4 guys that are like 6'6" to 6'8", right? So it's like you have this like spread out height, but it's not like multiple 7-footers or anything like that, right? But if you look at them, it's 6'7", 6'8", 6'7", 6'6", 6'5", 6'5", and then 2 6-footers. So like they're not like massive, but that's good size across the wings and across the back line there. However, both of those, I think I would prefer TCU given that matchup. At the same time, man, I hear you about Bruce Thornton. I'm probably going to regret this, but I'm going to pull a David Becker. Jon Scheyer ain't losing to Jake Deepor, dude. Ain't happening. Not going to happen. Jamie Dixon, great coach, maybe, but we ain't losing to Jake Deepor, bro. Not happening. I'll put that out there. I'll eat that one if that's what it comes to, but I'll take it. I like us in that. For me, it's more about serious. It really is. I want to see Pat in Greenville because I need that to ease my anxiety preparing for DC because I just need to see I want to see what he looks like. I want him to touch the court. I don't want us trying to reintegrate 2 guys here in 4 days, man. Not to go play St. John's or Kansas and then follow that up with Michigan State or UConn or UCLA. Ideally, we would not have to do that, but we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. Anything else y'all got about this one, man, or we'll go ahead and get out of here. I know we're already over an hour here, so we'll wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
I know Shu's got to get up early, so.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, fellas. Well, we'll come back again. We'll do this. I know we'll do another one after the Siena one, and we'll talk about who we're going to play, either Ohio State or TCU, and hopefully get to celebrate a little bit, chop it up a little bit. But in the meantime, we appreciate all of you. By the time this goes out, it might be too late, but if you haven't already, go ahead and check out the Devil's Den. They get brackets up there if you want to get in on that. If it's too late, subscribe anyway. Go ahead and catch us next season. Email us, TheDevilsDen.com. You can follow us on X/Twitter at DevilsDenPod247, and keep the faces strong in the river. Go Duke.